I don't pay a comment to me, Kotogo, baby, which I have, mother. Now, madame, for be share me, didn't command or say. That a yard you, na your cool school, I call you history, na history, the dinner. Bra, history, and anything. We say dates, now, then, history, part of the history there. Course, beer, no, that's this. I just want to see, who's your one they are doing. There were two categories of people that studies history as a course. The first category is called readers of history, and the second category is called actual historians. So let's take these two categories one by one. When we are done, we will also consider the reasons why they study history. So let's talk about the readers of history. The readers of history refers to learners and students that have been admitted in educational institutions to study the course. We normally refer to them as apprentice historians. Apprentice historians because they are under training in the field of history. We are training them so that one day they can graduate and become actual historians. So who are the actual historians? They are the professors, doctors, lecturers, those with master degrees, those with first degrees. These are the actual historians. Why do we call them actual historians? They have in-depth knowledge when it comes to interpretations of historical evidence. It is archaeologists, in the field of linguistics, professors. This is I'm a teacher. What you say? So these are the actual historians, and one of their main functions is that they communicate their knowledge of history onto the apprentice historians. Now, why do they study history? These two categories. Why do they study history? And the question is, the reason or the purpose of studying history are the part of actual historians. Is it the same as the purpose of studying history at the parts of the apprentice historian or the readers of history? They somehow differ, but let's consider the apprentice historians. At the Intina, we be address we go school at history. The first thing is a person will graduate in a certificate. It is a Yamian abdominus will graduate in a certificate. Now, what to me they are twice work on you. They study history in order to obtain some level of qualification and certification so that they can proceed their academic journey into becoming actual historians in the future. That is me. That was my main purpose. I went to the university because I needed a certificate so that I can advance. But through that, I have also been able to achieve the height of an actual historian. Recently, I did a project on the evolution of kente weaving in my hometown, Asendonpem. A very interesting project that I recommend to you to also read some. If you need a soft copy, I can send it to you at a low price. The history of Asendonpem. When say you can't kente free Asante region. You can't kente, you can't Evans, you can't kente, some foreign year come massive. This is then Asendonpem. To create a war central region. If we come as if it's not going to far Asen Manso Pines. We do for so and so, we do Asen Manso. Look at your bishop for swing chain. They have been weaving kente for about 50 years now. So that's a very nice project. Most of the actual historians actually write history. But let's talk about the purpose of history to the actual historian. The first purpose is to engage in historical interpretations of evidence of our past societies. So what is the purpose of history to the actual historian? Yadika Kabako said it is to communicate their knowledge in history. But one other purpose is that we want to teach the younger generation that Africa is the cradle of humanity. The first evidence that suggests that Africa is the home of humanity comes from northern Tanzania. Dr. Fumionubia, yɛfrɛ baako, yɛfrɛ mo Dr. and Mrs. Leakey. Wɔn yɛ archaeologists. Na archaeology for no wɔn adwuma no sɛ wɔn tutu fam a wɔn kɔhwehwɛ site bi, historical site na wɔn tutu fam a na wɔn anya material remains, nneɛma a nipa use a yɛato agu dadaada. Ebi wɔ ha a ɛdi 200,000 years, ebi wɔ ha ɛdi 2 million years. Wɔn wɔ machines ahodoɔ a wɔn de saa nneɛma no gu so a saa machine no kyerɛ wɔn sɛ this particular adeɛ wei ɛdi 2,000 years. Na ha sei na na ɛwɔ sei na na ɛteɛ. Nti Dr. and Mrs. Leakey wɔn discover nnompe bi ɛwɔ northern Tanzania, Africa ha a ɛkyerɛ sɛ saa nipa a yɛ discover wɔn nnompe no saa time na wɔn nyɛ nipa na wɔn nya involved into nipa, but it is believed that saa nnompe no saa nkɔfoɔ na ɛbere bi baeɛ a yɛakɔ yɛn anim a evolution has occurred. You see, ɛnɛ yɛaba bɛ achieve the height of Homo sapiens. What you say? Nti no, that is also another purpose of the actual historian, to communicate the knowledge that Africa is the cradle of mankind, and nobody can take that knowledge from us. One other thing is to clear the Eurocentric idea that Africa does not have history. You see, there was a time that one popular ideology among the Europeans was that Africa didn't have history. They came to meet us, uncivilized people living within villages. Some even wrote that we were living in trees. We were almost half naked. I read a certain book and a certain man called Trevor Roper. Some man was said Africans no no buy na you be hu yen say na ye dan wia so na ye half naked, almost naked, na ye nhwe, which is not true. Africans had been able to institute all forms of statecraft. They have been able to institute their social institutions, like festivals, name them festivals, naming ceremony, marriage ceremonies. We had our own culture. We had our own way of trading with other peoples in other regions of the world. So people like the Daula Muslims, there were a certain group of people called the Daula Mande Muslims. They were traders from Mali. These people were in contact with Kumasi people. They were using the route of they were able to come down from Mali down to Kintampo to Kumasi. At a point in time, they would travel from Kumasi through a same Mansu route to the coast to engage in trading activities. These all occurred before the coming of the Europeans. So there was a lot that was happening in Africa before the coming of the Europeans. But these people are saying that Africa did not have history. See, 4,400 years ago, before the birth of Christ, the ancient Egyptian civilization had been established. They had been able to develop their own system of writing. They had been able to develop a calendar which we use today, the calendar from January to December calendar that we use today. It was developed by the ancient Egyptians. They were able to build strong monuments, pyramids, which these Europeans are even there studying right now. So why then would you say that Africa did not have history? It's not true. So these are the purposes of the actual historians, to communicate onto the apprentice historians that no, Africa, we had history. Another purpose is that at the end of every topic, at the end of every discussion in the field of studying history, we want our apprentice historians to gain some level of love for their country. You see, the study of African history itself reveals a lot of good people in history of Africa. It tells us how they were able to relentlessly fight for the development of Africa in the past. So we have people like Robert Mugabe, Kwame Nkrumah, we have Gaddafi in the history of Africa. You see, when you expose these apprentice historians to such people and how they were able to fight for the development of the African continent, you will see that these people can impact the lives of the apprentice historians. I have a friend right now that have Kwame Nkrumah's picture as his profile picture, and this guy has been using this picture as his profile picture on WhatsApp for more than 4 years. It might be that Kwame Nkrumah yɛ adeɛ bi a ɛma ɔman Ghana n'ani agye ho to the extent sɛ ɔpɛ sɛ ɔemulate saa adeɛ no. It will expose you to all these kinds of what I say. Saa nneɛma wei na ebi history bɛyi na ɛde akyerɛ. So that is also another purpose of history to the actual historians. And of course, if you want to become a very good politician, the best course to study is history and then political science. So me like this, I have history major and then political science minor background. So you see, if someone like me wants to pursue a future in politics, I will be one of the most strongest politicians in the world because I have all the backgrounds of statecraft in the past, and it will not be very difficult for me to also read from other continents, from the West, from the Europeans, politics across the world, because I already have the foundation. That is what we want these apprentice historians to become. So let's meet in our next video to discuss how these actual historians write history, because there are some actual historians living with us right now that are not even more than 30 years. But how is it that they are able to write about ancient people of about 2,000 years ago? So they have various sources that they consult so that they can gather their information and put them or subject them to intelligent interpretations as actual historians, so that they can present them to the apprentice historians or the readers of history for them to also study about the past.